In this tutorial, we are going to be using the Ruby on Rails starter kit to get you started with Ruby on Rails. The Ruby on Rails starter kit is a very easy to use starter kit, which allows you to pass through all of the things that are common across Ruby on Rails apps. So you'll get a fully functional Ruby on Rails app with an admin panel, with all the libraries, external libraries that you need to have inside the classical Ruby on Rails app, and it's going to just jumpstart through the process of setting up a new app. In this tutorial, our objective is to take this Ruby on Rails starter kit and build it out into an online chocolate store. So to that end, we have prepared a set of assets, a set of images, which look really, really nice, which we will use to build up our chocolate store. We have a logo. Chocolate University seemed like a very good name for this event, and we are going to be using these to basically get a product that allows you to set up these products, set up a price for each of these products, allow an end user to come over, take a look at the products, add them to a shopping cart, and perform credit card payments with Stripe. Because we do not want you to be setting up the full Ruby on Rails environment on your local system, we have thought about using Cloud9, and Cloud9 looks like this. And you can just use Cloud9 free of charge to follow through this tutorial without setting up Ruby on Rails on your computer, which is going to be useful. So this is where you get at when you open up Cloud9, and this is my dashboard. Cloud9 is made up of a number of workspaces, and we will create a new workspace from scratch for this tutorial. I'm going to click on this create a new workspace button, which is going to open up the workspace creation place. I'm going to give this workspace a name, which is Chocolate Store, and this is a chocolate store. We are going to be creating a public workspace. If you guys want to follow up what I am doing in real time, you can just use this workspace name to see it in real time. And in order to start it out from the starter kit, you just need to take the link that we have prepared in your in the article, which is this one, https://bitbucket.org takeofflab/utech.kit. Take it, place it here, and you say that this is going to be a Rails project, a Ruby project. I will click create workspace, and this is going to set up my workspace, which is an online editor of sorts that allows you to both code and run your code at the same time. So now it's saying creating container. What it actually does in the background is each container runs on a separate Ubuntu virtual machine. So at this point in time, they're going through, they are setting up an Ubuntu workspace, and it's done. So now I'm into this workspace. I'll just quickly click on share. You can always use this link from here in order to follow up with what I am doing in real time. So you can just take this link, and if you just join my workspace, you will see what I'm doing in real time. So this is going to be useful if you get left behind, or you just want to get a quick reference to the code that I am writing in real time. Okay. Good. So what do I have here? I have a Ruby on Rails app on the left hand side, which is organized as any other Ruby on Rails apps into the app directory. The most important parts that you see here are controllers, models, and views. Views are HTML templates that are going to be used to be rendered on the screen. Models are classes on top of Ruby on Rails classes on top of objects in the database, and controllers link everything together. Controllers are the classes that say, hey, given that I am on this path, I am going to go through and load a number of objects from the database and then use the view template to render the HTML code for that specific case. I can open up any of these files, so I can open up the user's controller, and I'm going to get the user's controller right here. I can click Command P, which is very useful because then I can very easily get to a file. So I can open up the user model just by typing user RB and clicking enter. It opens it up, and that's it. So you have a navigation area, you have a text editing area in the middle, and then on the bottom you have terminal. So I have a bash terminal, which I can just use to run any commands. I can open multiple of these and so on. In order to set up everything, we have prepared a script which you can just run by using sh script.sh, which is going to basically get additional libraries as needed for this Ruby on Rails project. So I ran that. It's going to go through and run a command that's called bundle install, among others. Each Ruby on Rails project is based on a gem file, which is right here, and this specifies what are the various tools and external gems that you want to load up inside this library. So even you'll see that Rails is a gem inside my library, which is cool. So now it's going through, it's bundling and installing all the gems. Another step that is being done by this command is setting up the database. And for the purpose of this exercise, we are using a PostgreSQL database, and we have already prepared the connection file, which you'll find under config database.iml. So I'll double click it. You see here the connection strings to the database. Cloud9 also comes up with the possibility to set up your own databases. So one of the commands that are being run as part of the script is setting up a database with username and password, those actual strings, and this actual name, pre-employment app development. Later down the line, we'll actually create a secondary database for running our automated test suite, but until then, we need to allow the script to finish what it's doing. So we'll give it a few more minutes. It's going through, still installing libraries. We can open this up and see where it's staying. So it still goes through installing Unicorn. Unicorn is the server library that's being used, and it's installing everything that we have. If you look inside the gem file, you'll see a few interesting gems. One of them is Stripe. We are going to be using Stripe for payment processing. Another one is ActiveAdmin. We're going to be using ActiveAdmin for our own internal administrative panel. Okay, so the setup phase finished, and we can now start and run our project by clicking on Run Project. When we run project, it's just going to go through and run the Ruby on Rails server, and when the Ruby on Rails server starts, it's going to say your code is running at this link. So you can always now open up this link, and you can just copy and paste it into a new tab, and you'll see the actual contents of the app. So this is exactly what we have today. It's the Ruby on Rails starter kit, and it contains a few functions that are going to be useful. So it has a login with forgot your password, with sign up. We can sign up for an account, which is going to take me inside. I can upload an image. I can select one of the images from here. It has an image preview. I can click on update. It's going to be saving that image. I can sign out. And in addition to that, it has an admin panel where you can go in and say admin at example.com. The password is password. Click login. goes in, and we are now inside the admin panel. Inside the admin panel, we can take a look at the Ruby on Rails models that have been already defined. So inside users, I'm going to be able to see a list of users, including a link to the logo that we've uploaded. I can click on edit next to a user, which is going to take me to the place where I can edit all of the information related to this user. I can click on new user right here, and it's going to allow me to create a new user. So what we want to create now is to create this concept of products. This concept of products, meaning we want to create a Ruby on Rails model. We want to create a table in the database that stores the products. And we want the product to have a title, an image, and a price. So to get started with that, we are going to be going back into the Chaka store Cloud9 interface, go to the first tab, and I'm going to start the process of creating the model and database tables. So I'm going to say Rails generate model product, the name of the model, and then we need the list of attributes that we want to be storing for the product. So I'm going to say title of type string, price of type float, and image of type string. Image is actually of type string because the image is going to be saved on Amazon S3. Amazon S3 is a service designed for saving all kinds of files in the cloud, and Ruby on Rails is simply going to keep a reference to that interface. So I just run this, I click enter, and it's going to create a number of files. And you'll see that it created a model, app models product, and it created a migration. So let's take a look at the migration as well. The migration is the one that's going to build up the change inside the database. It's right here. Just creates the table. Products, title, price, image, and timestamps. So I'm going to run regdb migrate. Goes through, and it's going to set up the product table in the database. Okay, it said create table products, and it's done. And it also created a model in product, which includes nothing as of now. And what we want to do is to create inside the admin panel a new section right here for the products, and just be able to edit those products from here. So I'm going to take the user, go to in-app admin user, open it up. This is the interface that tells active admin to get a new user to get the users in the admin panel. So I'm just going to create a product file right here, and the product file just needs to have the same information, but instead of user it is product. So I'll save that. I will go here, refresh. I see a new section with products. Click on it. There's no actual products as of now in the system. Now I could click on new product, and I'm going to be taken to an interface where I can set up the three things that I have previously told the database to create. Now we'd like it to be a little bit more complex than this, so we'd like title to be required, price to be required, and image should be a browse field. So what I'm going to do is go back into the models product, and I'm going to say the following: validates title present true. If I save this, I go back and refresh, you'll notice that the title has now the small asterisk, and if I click on create product, it's going to say that that value is required. So I'm going to do the same for the price. Go back, I refresh. Now both title and price need to be filled in for it to work. And lastly, I'm going to go into the user model and just take this line, which is mount uploader image uploader. which tells Ruby on Rails that, the image field, which is a string, just simply needs to be a link to, needs to be a file that you upload. So now if I refresh, I go back to products, new product, I'm going to see title, price, and image. So let me go through and fill in the data. Chocolate lava cake for $12. This file, product, created it, new product, chocolate, pancakes, $60, copy and paste the pancakes, create a new one, Florentine cookies, price is $8, and the image is this. Another product, Florentine slice, price is $5.50. Copy and paste it right here. In the end product, new product, Oreo truffles, $8.75. Oreo truffles go here, create product. So now I have the list of products. You'll see that all of them have an image link, which I can copy and paste in order to see the image. So this is the proof that the images got saved, and we now have products in our system. Okay, so now what we would like to do is to display a list of all the products on one screen and allow the user to see those products and add some of those products to a cart. So to get started, we'll look in what's called a routes file, and the routes file is a list of all the links that the system recognizes. So I can always go here in the console and run rake routes, which is going to give me a list of all the routes that the Ruby on Rails app recognizes and where does it go. So for example, it says if someone goes to /users, then open up the users controller and call the index action. So there is one such line for each and every single one of the routes that the Ruby on Rails app recognizes. The first one is actually called root, and it says if someone goes to / go to users controller and run the edit action. We don't want that no more. We want to change that, and we want it to go to a new controller that we're going to create, which is called products, and it's going to go to an action called index, which is going to list all of the products in the system. So I'm going to go right here and change this to products-index. I'll save it. If I go back now and I go to / click enter, it's going to say uninitialized constant product controller. Well, that's because I have not created a controller yet. So let me go in to controllers and create a new file, which is called products_controller.rb. And the contents of it is going to be class products controller inheriting from application controller. And end. We go back, refresh. And now it's going to say the action index could not be found for product controller. Well, let's do that. Def index end. So they just created an index action, a refresh, and it's going to say missing template product/index, because now it's going to run this empty action and say, let me try to render the HTML view from views product/index. There is no such folder, so we'll create one. Products and index.html.haml. Open this file up, and this is the products list. Now if I refresh, it's going to simply open up and say this is the products list, but that's not what we want. we want to load up all of the products in the system and display a list of the actual products. So let me go back to product controller in index and say that we want to generate a global variable called products, which is equal to product order by title, create an array out of it. And then in index, we are going to create a new row and navigate to the products, which is the global variable that we have created into the controller. Open up a section called SM4, basically says on a grid of 12, use 3 columns for this product. Use text center, and I'm going to say equal image tag product dot image. So now if I refresh, I should see a list of images. Okay, but they do not look that nice because they are different sizes and they are not really looking nice. So let me go back and do a few more changes. I'm going to say I want to add a class which is called image rounded, and I want to add a style which says that the maximum height is 150 pixels. I will go back and refresh. And now it looks sort of like this. It looks better, but let's add some more information and see how it then looks. So I'll say on the next line, we want to show the product title. On the next line, I want to show the price, number to currency, product dot price. And number to currency is actually a very nice Ruby on Rails function which is going to format the number as if it's currency. So let the dollar sign, add the right number of digits, and so on. And on the new line, we are going to say link to add to cart, which is going to be empty, an empty link right now, but we are going to be changing that shortly. So if I refresh, looks like this. And that's not actually too bad, but I think we should give it some more space right here. So let's say we want it to go up to 240 pixels. So I go back, and right here I'm going to say that the style has a minimum height of 240 pixels. So now I refresh, it looks decent. And I have a list of cookies, and I have their image, the title, the price, and an add to cart button. Okay, so that's perfect. And the next thing is to implement the add to cart functionality. Next thing we are going to do is to start working on the add to cart functionality, and the add to cart functionality is going to be based on two database tables and Ruby on Rails models. We are going to be having a cart table and cart Ruby on Rails model, which is where we are going to be adding items when someone presses add to cart. And in order to store what's going to be inside the cart, we are going to have a cart components function or a cart components model. And the cart components model is going to be a joint table between the cart and the product, saying that this product has been added to this cart and the quantity that has been added is X. So we'll need two models. So we are going to get started with that, and we are going to be creating the two models. The first one is Rails generate model cart, and we'll just have a status of type string for now, which is going to tell us what's the status of this cart, because at some point we'll want to run a payment processing on this cart, and then the status goes from, let's say, pending initially to ordered or completed and so on. And we need to also have another Ruby on Rails model, which we are going to call cart ship, and this cart ship is going to have a cart ID integer, product ID integer, and a quantity of type integer. And this is just going to say that a product is in a cart and it has a total quantity. Okay, now you'll see that it created both model files and migrations. So we are going to run rakedb migrate in order to have these tables created in the database. It created the two tables, cards and card chips. And now we are going to be using a little bit of test-driven development to be uh, setting up these new models. So let me run rake spec initially. And when I run rake spec, it's going to say that we do not have a database for running the tests. So what we need to do in that case is to go ahead and set up the test database, which is done in config database YAML. The easiest way to create a test database is to copy over the development database, give it a slightly different name, and just say template 0 here. And then when running rakedb test prepare, it's going to actually create that database and make sure that we have the database created and we can connect it. So now if I run rakedb test prepare, I can now run rake spec, which is going to go through and run all of the tests. Right now we do not have, I think, any tests added to the test suite, but we'll check that. Okay, so there are no, well, there are actually two tests that we have already created in the starter kit. And then it says that there are no tests about cards, card chips, and products, which is correct. So now we are going to start creating some tests about the cart model. And the first thing is to create factories for all of these three new models that we have created: products, cards, and card chips. Factories are template objects which can then be used into tests, and they are useful because you do not always want to continue writing the same information multiple times. So in the user model, for example, we say that the email is of this form and the password and the password confirmation is that, because we want to make sure that the tests only focus on what's important for the test and not actually writing lots and lots of data. So we'll do this for products. Just copy and pasted what we had in users. Factory's name is product, and the product has a title, chocolate, and it has a price. Let's say $1, and we do not need an image for this. Let's actually do $15. We'll also have a factory for cards, card.rb, and the card is much simpler. It just has factory card, has status pending, and we are also going to add an empty factory this time for card chips, which card chips include nothing. Okay, so now we have created these three factories. I can close them down and you'll see how we use them in 1 second. Under models, there is already a file created for cards. It's called cardspec.rb. If I open it, it does not have any examples, but we can then say it includes, and then write test. And we'll say that the first test actually tests out to see that you can add and include products into a card. So it includes products into cards. And we'll say the following. We'll write the code as we want it to show at the end, and then we'll run it and we'll confirm that it works. So I'm going to say card is equal to factory girl.create card. Product is equal to factory girl.create product. Card.cardchips dot create product column product quantity 1. And if we do that, we want car.product.length. We expect that car.products to length to equal to 1. So this is the first step that we want to run, and we'll run it. Spec equals spec slash models cart spec.rb break spec. The spec equals at the beginning basically says that we want to run just this specific test file initially. So we'll run it, and naturally it's going to be giving out an error, and the error is going to be that card.cardShips does not know what it is. So we need to define that. And I'm going back into add models cart, and I say has many cardShips, which is going to include that relationship based on the fact that cardship has a card ID. So now I am running the tests again. It's probably still going to fail because now we do not know what cardship product is. So I need to go into cardship and say that it belongs to a product and it belongs to a card. So now I can run the test again and see what happens. Runs the test, and it's probably still going to fail, but it should fail a little bit further along because yes, it says undefined method products for cart. Well, yes, because cart has cardShips, but it does not have products, and we can do has many products through cardShips. That's basically going to go through the cardShips and run the product call on the cardship. So now I'm going to run it again. Goes through, runs, and the example passed. So we have the first passing test. And I think we should also have a function that calculates the total price for a card. So we'll write the test for it. Calculates the total price for a card, do, and we'll be creating a card initially. And we'll be creating two products. One that has a price of $10 and another one that has a price of $5. And we are going to be adding these two products to the card. So we'll be creating two cardShips, one for product 1 of quantity 2 and one for product 2 with quantity 1. And then we expect cart.total price to equal 2 times 10 plus 5, 25. And we'll run the tests again. It's going to fail, and it's going to fail because there is no function called total price. Let's give it a second to run the test. Runs the test. In undefined method total price. So let's build out a total price method on the card. Total price, and for the time being I'm going to return 0, which is obviously incorrect. But if I do that, I'll see what it expects to get and what it actually returns. So we can then fix that problem. So it goes through and it says expected 25 got 0. Well, let's fix that. So we'll say instead of return 0, we'll say cardShips.map cardship to cardship.quantity times cardship.product.price, which is going to create an array. So for each element in the cardship, it's going to create the quantity times price in one array, and then we'll sum this up. And if I run it now, I should be okay. Goes through. The next thing that we want to do is to implement this add to cart function, and this add to cart function right now is an empty link, and we need to change that. So what we are going to do is open up the routes file, and we are going to be creating resources products, and we want to have a link of for product /id /add to cart. So I'm going to say resources products member due because I want to call it on one single product, and I'm going to have an add to cart function. And this is what you need to write in the routes file. If I did that, I can do rake routes grep add to cart, which is going to go through and oops, I have an error. Unexpected member do get add to cart. Should be fine, maybe without member. Let me try it this way. Oh, I forgot to do here. That's the problem. So now if I do rake routes grep add to cart, says add to cart product, products ID add to cart. So now I want to go back into the index and use this new pad that we have created. So instead of the hash here, I want to use add to cart product pad, and we need to pass in the product. So now if I refresh this home page and I mouse over these links, I'm going to see that I have nice links. Just 1 second to refresh, and I have links of form product /1 /add to cart. So now in the products controller, we need to be adding a function that's called add to cart. And this add to cart function needs to do the following. Needs to see if there is an active cart by looking in the session variables. If not, it needs to create one, and it always needs to add one card chip to the card as we've seen in the test. So I'm going to say the following. If session of card ID is blank, I'm going to create a card. And I'm going to set up the session card ID to this card. Otherwise, I'm just going to load up the card from the session card ID. I'm going to then find the product by ID, and I'm going to say that I want to create a card chip under this card with product ID, product.id, and quantity 1, and I want to redirect to that card. So these are some lines of code that basically say I want to find the card, I want to find the product, and I want to build up the link between them. So now if I click on this add to cart button, it's going to go through, and it's actually going to say undefined method cart URL for products controller, because we have not defined the resources for the cards. So I need to create another resources cards in the routes file. I can rake routes and look at the cards to see what we get, and we'll see that it created a number of links for the cards now, including a simple one which is cart/id. So now if I refresh this page to add the card add the card again, you will see that it actually redirected to cart/tree, and it says uninitialized constant cards controller. Okay, uninitialized constant cards controller. So I will go to the cards controller. Actually, I need to create one. I'll create a new file called cards controller rb. Open it up. Cards controller inheriting from application controller, and we'll write a show function which is going to calculate the card from the ID. We can refresh the page. If I refresh the page, it's going to say unexpected. Okay, it's not def, it's class. Going back, refreshing, and it says missing template cards/show. So we need to create one. And we obviously need to go back into views, create a new folder called cards, create a new file which is called show HTML haml, and we'll say just testing card view. And if I refresh, it's going to show testing card view. Perfect. So now, instead of having this testing card view, what we need to do here is to have a table of all the objects that have been added to this card. So I am going to be switching this to a table which has a row, a header row with the following columns. I'll say product name, quantity, price, total. I will navigate to the card chips of the card, and for each card chip I'm going to be writing a new row, which is card chip dot product dot title, card chip dot quantity, card chip dot product dot price, and I need to add this to number to currency so it's being formatted nicely. And I'm going to say number to currency card chip dot product dot price multiplied by card chip dot quantity. Let us refresh and see what we got. Quantity 1, price 12, total $12. And then let's also add another row, which is the full total here, and then the total price goes here. Because this is actually the price that we are going to want to add to the payment processing provider in order to pay. So we'll actually, this is the value that will pass over for payments. And we have an error because right here I need card instead of card chip. So let me refresh. I have the total to 12. Okay, so now I'm looking at the cart, but I find it hard to navigate back and forth between the home page and the cart. So what I want to do is to add a simple header bar on top, which includes a logo and includes the status of the current cart, so I can navigate back and forth between the home page and the current cart. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go into App, Assets, Images, and then the logo. And the logo is very simple to add because you can just take it, drag and drop it over here in Images. You'll see that it created the logo file right here. That's perfect. So now I'm going to go into the Layouts folder, Views, Layouts, open up Application HTML XAML, and always this application HTML XAML is going to be rendered, and only this side here with yield is going to be replaced with what we had in the individual views. So what we want is right here to have a header. I'm going to give this header a total height of 100 pixels. And this header is going to have an image tag to logo.png, which has a height of 100 pixels. We don't want it to be larger. And this is going to be a link to our homepage. So link to root path do, and the image tag goes inside. And then on the right hand side, if there is a cart defined, then we want to create a link to the cart, link to cart together with the total price so far, cart.total price, number to currency, let's not forget that, total price, cart, links to cart, and we want it to be button info. So now if I refresh, we'll immediately see that the Chocolate University logo was over to the top left. The card button is to the top right, but we want it to be slightly moved over. So we'll say padding right 5 pixels and padding top 30 pixels. I'll refresh. Those should be margins, not paddings. That's much better. Let's actually make this 15. That's actually much better, but now you'll see that it generated this extra space because the container includes a class called margin top 100, which we no longer need. So I'll remove that, and it looks much more condensed and nice. So now I can go back to the home page, but on the home page, I'll notice that the cart link is no longer there. Why? Because this add cart link, add cart object was not created. There's a very easy way to create something on all pages, which is to go into application controller, which is a controller that is called on all actions and on all links. And I'll say I add a before filter, so a function that's being called before each link, and I'm going to say load cart. And I'm going to create this function, which is going to say cart is equal to cart.find session of cart ID if session of cart ID is present. And this is going to just create a cart object, load the cart objects from the database if that session variable exists. So now it has been added to the top right, and I can add a new object to the cart, and the cart updated. I can go back in and add another object and so forth. So now I have the logo, I have a navigation, I have a cart with 3 items, which I would like to. The last functionality that we want to add is to be able to pay using your credit card and to consider this order or this card is completed. So if we're looking at this page, our objective is to add a buy now button or a pay now button right here that prompts for the credit card, runs the transaction, and marks the order as completed. So for this reason, we are going to be using Stripe. We have already created an account using Stripe, but if you do not have an account, it's very easy to create one. Once you create an account, you will be getting to this page where you can see the dashboard, see the number of payments done, the amount of money that you have received, and so on. If you click on this documentation button, what we are going to be using for this tutorial is under payments, and it's called checkout. And checkout is a small JavaScript library developed by Stripe that allows you to open up a pop-up like this that allows you to run the payment without too much hassle. So in order to embed this button on the site, what we need to do is described right here in this area. It's basically a form with a script inside, so we need to take this and integrate it on the cards page. So to this end, I'm going to go to cards show HTML HAML. I'm going to be creating this form right here. So I'm just going to paste it here and start typing it in HTML HAML. So form tag action is you need to specify an endpoint on the server where we are going to be routing the payment information. So what we are going to do is to go under routes, and we see resources cards. Similarly, how we've done a member function under products, we're going to be doing a member function under cards, which is going to be a post method, and it's going to be called pay. So once we've done this, I can run rake routes grep pay, and this is going to give me a list of the endpoints that are recognized by the routes. So we now have a pay cart function that redirects to /cart/id pay, and this is exactly what we are going to be using in the form tag. So I'm going to say pay cart path of cart because we want to send over the cart ID. Method is post, and we are going to be filling in the data. The data is very simple. It's a script tag, and it has the values from here. So src is equal to checkoutstripe.com. Class Stripe button, data, and the data is going to contain the key, the amount, and the amount needs to be in cents. So I'm going to say cart dot total price times 100. I will quickly switch this to repline so we can see everything. Then the name is going to be Chocolate University. Description, chocolate order, image pet to logo PNG, and locale auto. And this should be it. So if we refresh the cards page, we should be seeing a pay now button. And there's an error. Let's see what it is. I think we need to do form due. There we go. So we have a pay with card button. If I click on it, it's going to ask me for the email, card number, month, year, CVC, and remember me. Let me take this button and move it to the right. So we move it to the right and we save it and we refresh. So now we have pay with card, and pay with card is going to ask the user to enter his email address, enter his credit card, and the expiry date, and the CVC. And once I click pay, this credit card will be sent to Stripe. Stripe will send back a token, and that token is going to be sent back to this function that's referenced right here, so the pay card path. So what we need to do is to go into the cards controller and actually define this pay method, and this pay method will need to be actually charging the credit card because the first action only gives you a token that allows you to access the card, but not actually charge it. The easiest way is to go right here below and look at this link, charging the customer immediately. And they actually have a Ruby sample code, which I'm going to take from here and adjust in our code. So I have found the cart. I get the code from Stripe, sets up the API key, takes the token, tries to charge an amount, and the amount needs to be taken from the card. So card.total price times 100 to integer because we want it in cents. USD, the token is the one that has been received by checkout.js, and then the description is going to be seen in the Stripe account. So what we are going to say, payment for cart and cart ID. So we have a way to track this back to the user. And then if the credit card has been declined, what we want to do is to just not do anything and redirect back to the cart page. So redirect to cart, notice payment declined, and return. We don't want to run anything else. Well, if the charge has been successful, we want to update the cart status to completed. We want to delete the session, the cart ID from the session. This cart is no longer useful to be adding things to it. And then we want to redirect to the root path with a notice that says the chocolate is on its way. So if we save this and click the pay now button, it's actually going to go through. It says yes, it's done. It goes through, so now it goes into the code that we just written. Oh, and we have an error. So cart ID should actually be a symbol like this. Let's try again. You cannot use a Stripe token more than once. Okay, so we need to start from scratch with a new cart. We'll do that. I still have a cart right here, so let's try using this. Pay with card, email, card number. Click pay now, goes through, got the token, sends the data to us, goes in, and it says the chocolate is on its way. And you'll notice that there is no longer a an active card right here. If I go back to the dashboard of Stripe, I can refresh and I should see another charge right now. And indeed, there are two charges right now, and we can actually see them in a list. So if I click on payments, there you go, payment for card fee, $80. So that's pretty much it. Obviously, there's much more that we could do with this, but I think this is a really, really good start on what you can do with